We all love going to the movies, but we've also gotten really used to watching them at home. It's hard to believe that TVs didn't always have remotes. And sure, we're pretty spoiled in the era of the clicker, whether it's grabbing a snack, taking a pee break, or finally answering mom's call on her 9th attempt. We sure do love that pause button, because we never have to miss a second of the action, and we can go back and take another look at something we may have missed.
Did you see that?
I'm your host, the Notorious Nick, and today we're discussing some of the most pause-worthy on-screen deaths of all time. We love watching a big action scene where the hero beats the bad guy once and for all. And some of us study these scenes, like the Zapruder film. So let's have a rundown of our favorites. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button in the bottom right-hand corner, and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you think of our video by leaving a comment. And if you need to hit the pause button before we get started, I understand, just come back, because otherwise you'll miss out on What happened? Han shoots first. 20 years after the release of Star Wars: A New Hope, George Lucas felt that computer animation had finally caught up to his original vision. He announced the long-anticipated trilogy of prequels, as well as the special editions of the original movies. Most of the changes in the special editions focused on cleaning up old special effects problems, and adding some new creatures and backgrounds. And then there was the highly controversial decision to have Greedo shoot first. The original 1977 Mos Eisley Cantina scene ended with the Rhodian bounty hunter informing the notorious smuggler of his lethal intentions, before we hear a blaster and see the poor little green guy faceplant into the table. Han gets up, tosses a credit to the barkeep, and apologizes for the mess on his way out.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
In the special edition, Lucas added a blaster bolt that misses Han Solo by an Imperial mile before Han fries poor Greedo. Hardcore fans say that the apparent act of self-defense made him less of an anti-hero and made his hero turn at the Death Star battle less satisfying. The other issue is that not even a stormtrooper could miss at that range. Most fans felt that Lucas should have left it alone. Oof, if they only knew that they were just a couple short years away from being introduced to Jar Jar Binks. Die Hard. Every guy's favorite Christmas movie, but a flick we can enjoy all year round. Hans and his international band of thieves get more than they bargained for when they crash the Nakatomi Christmas party, but they still manage to give John McClane plenty of trouble all the way up to the pivotal rooftop showdown.
Trails, Hans.
Alan Rickman is reportedly a very nice person in real life, which makes this performance as the villain even more impressive. He's cold, he's calculating, and he even speaks with a European accent. Even as he's clinging onto his enemy for dear life, he decides to raise his gun at John McClane, and you can see the hate in his eyes. And it's very satisfying watching him finally fall 40 stories to his death. Most audiences erupted into applause throughout Die Hard's theatrical run, and you just gotta hit pause and watch it again. The 40-story Nakatomi building is in reality the 34-story Fox Plaza in Los Angeles, which was still under construction while filming. Rickman shot his death scene from a 21-foot model and fell onto an airbag. In order to get an authentic reaction from the actor, the stuntman holding him released his grip on the count of 2, not the agreed upon 3. Yippee-ki, oops! Avengers End Game. The complex Marvel Cinematic Universe involves multiple storylines that intertwine and jump between time and space.
I don't know why everyone believes that, but that isn't true. Think about it. If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future.
Phase 3 concluded with Avengers Infinity War and Avengers End Game, which were shot simultaneously. The mighty Avengers were hopelessly outmatched, until Iron Man famously sacrifices himself to defeat Thanos once and for all. It was the most iconic death in the Marvel Universe, and no one watched it just once. Whether it's to witness the intensity of Robert Downey Jr.'s acting performance, or to take a closer look at the award-winning special effects, there is just so much to dissect in this scene. Avengers End Game tied up many of the existing MCU storylines and set the stage for Phase 4, and I for one cannot wait to see how pauseworthy those films are gonna be too. The Wizard of Oz. 1939's Wizard of Oz is a timeless classic that children and adults have enjoyed for generations. Most of us watched the film dozens of times as kids, and I'll bet that several of you have also tried watching it with the sound off, listening to Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, well, that's just like, your opinion, man.
But sometimes the stories behind the scenes can be just as interesting as the one on them. There's an urban legend that the studio added a bird to the re-release of the film to cover up a munchkin dangling from a tree in the forest. Poor guy had allegedly had his heart broken by another actor, and ended it all by hanging himself in the forest. Depending on which version of the film you see, you might be able to locate a version that wasn't retouched and have a look for yourself. The legend has been debunked and attributed to a careless crew member wandering into the shot. None of the Munchkin actors had reported to set yet, so any stories about unrequited love seem a bit far-fetched. Movie crew members also always seem to know exactly who took the last donut from craft services, and are notorious gossipers. So our thinking is that word would have spread if an actor committed suicide in full view of the crew, no matter how little he happened to be. Pay no attention to the Munchkin behind the curtain. Temple of Doom. In the summer of 1984, we were all on the edge of our seats as Indy and Short Round attempted to recover the sacred Sankara stones from the evil Mola Ram. As if that wasn't difficult enough, they also had to do it with the high-strung diva Willie Scott complaining all the way.
We are going to die!
When they arrive at the temple, they discover a shocking scene. A huge crowd of thuggy disciples are assembled and chanting over a lake of fire as they watch the villainous Mola Ram pull out a young man's heart and show it to him as it bursts into flames. The scene is just as terrifying today as it was in 1984, and we always have to pause and go back and watch it again. Movies have certainly made a lot of progress since the days of practical effects and miniatures, but I know I still clutch my chest when I see that scene. The bigger question is, how did the sacrificial victim manage to live to see his still beating heart before he was lowered into the lava? I guess the Sankara stones really are magical. Platoon. Oliver Stone dedicated Platoon to the men who fought and died in the Vietnam War. The screenplay was based on his own experiences and written in direct response to the Green Berets. He said that most war movies made combat look fun, and he wanted to tell a more authentic story.
All you got to do is make it out of here. And it's all gravy. Every day the rest of your life, gravy.
The cast participated in a rigorous boot camp before shooting began in the Philippines, and Stone deprived them of sleep and subjected them to surprise weapons fire and explosions throughout the production. He even had outbreaks of PTSD on location himself. Platoon won Best Picture in 1986, and earned Stone an Oscar for Best Director too. Viewers spend a lot of time on patrols and experience the intense mix of emotions of soldiers in combat. The quietest moments are always followed by intense battle sequences, and sometimes the most focused viewer needs to take a break. And if you're going to pause this film, why not try to match the shot from the movie poster? Platoon is filled with religious symbolism, and Elias is immediately established as a Christ figure when he walks into the frame with his arms casually slung over his M60. After being shot in revenge by his rival Sergeant Barnes, Elias is later seen pleading to the Hueys, leaving him behind with dozens of enemy soldiers on his six. If you look carefully, you might also spot a hidden detonator in William Dafoe's hands. His squibs did not fire as planned, but Stone decided that the shot they got was too good not to use, and the rest is history. The Lion King. In addition to being a massive box office hit, The Lion King has also been developed into a Tony-winning Broadway musical, and recently remade with CGI animation. But for a movie intended for small children, it has some pretty intense scenes.
I laugh in the face of danger.
Most fans would say that Scar's betrayal even topped the death of Bambi's mother as the most heartbreaking scene that they ever witnessed in a Disney film. Unfortunately, in 1942, they didn't have a pause button. Most people who brought The Lion King home weren't seeing the film for the first time, but many had added to their family along the way. Whether it's Scar betraying Mufasa or later being torn apart by hyenas, we're willing to bet that a lot of parents find creative places to pause the flick and distract their kids while skipping past the more intense scenes. Fires, stampedes, and packs of hyenas are certainly frightening enough, but have you ever tried putting a kid to bed after making the mistake of thinking he or she can handle that scary part? Hakuna Matata my foot. Psycho. Most die-hard Alfred Hitchcock fans say that 1960's Psycho was his undisputed masterpiece. The iconic shower murder was one of the most meticulously storyboarded sequences in film history and has been studied at length in film schools everywhere. Psycho revolutionized the modern suspense film, and thousands of directors have looked to this film for inspiration. The shower scene was even the subject of 7852, a great feature-length documentary. However, in spite of Hitch's careful planning, his own wife Alma noticed Marion Crane visibly blinking after she was supposedly dead. Film buffs have long enjoyed looking for this blooper, while realizing that even the master of suspense himself could miss a detail.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
That's our countdown of our favorite pause-worthy on-screen deaths. Every filmmaker knows that if they want to include one, they have to be on their toes, because their fans are going to be watching closely. So alright, let's hear it. Did we leave your personal favorite on-screen death out? Can you think of other pause-worthy moments? Tell us in the comments. We read every one, and we promise not to press pause or fast forward on you. And since we're talking buttons, don't forget to like and subscribe for us. But for now, that's it. Those are the deaths, and that's what happened.